So I want y'all to know that part of how I crafted this conversation was because me and this beautiful woman, besides, just being stunning, powerful black women, one of the things we have in common is that we both went to Howard University.
H-U?
Okay. Okay, room. Okay.
Did everybody go to Howard? Howard?
That was a lot. That was a lot. That was more than expected. I feel like some of y'all just knew.
I know. I think so.
I'll take it. I'll take it, though.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like Howard University or HBCUs, as many of us, came from HBCUs, how do you feel like it prepared you to lead or show up as your whole self?
Let me tell you something about Howard. Oh, my God. Howard is gangster. That's the thing about it. It's really a place that hones you, not just because of the teachers and all those things, but the people around you, the individuals that you go to class and school with will not accept any less than your excellence when you're there. They hold you accountable to it. So I was in this College of Fine Arts. I found my way there. And I remember there were people who, like, if you went up in a scene and it was whack, you know what I mean? And you would literally have, not the teacher giving you, the teacher would do all that, but you would have people in the class afterwards be like, "What's up, you good? What was that?" Because we didn't believe you. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. This was the type of, or I would see people, and the beautiful women who were here, talented, smart women who were sitting here before us, were talking about, haters and things like that. And I remember being in class, and a wonderful actor and dear friend of mine, Jamie Patton, was so damn good, right? But I never hated. I was always so inspired. I was like, oh my God, I gotta go home and work on my, you know what I mean? And I would come back and I would be like, do my thing, and Jamie would be like, damn. And then she'd come back the next day and do her thing, and it was like, yo, and then I'd do my thing. And that's how we really got better. It wasn't just what we were learning, it was the people around us. We kept like sharpening each other. And, being around that kind of brilliance, that kind of genius, was really what helped to prepare me in terms of confidence. And I remember when I went to grad school afterwards and I was applying, and I didn't know that the Howard glow was on me, you know what I mean? And I walked into the room and they were like, we just want to ask you a question. You've been walking around here and you just seem so comfortable, so unbothered, so, not nervous. Like, what is that? And I just thought, in my mind, I thought, was I supposed to be? I didn't know that there was some prerequisite or how I was supposed to be in a space. I knew that I had purpose. And whenever purpose drives you, all of the other stuff doesn't feel as relevant, or like that's the thing I'm supposed to be paying attention to. I'm here not because of you, not necessarily because of this person next to me or because of me. I'm here because there is a purpose for me to be here that I'm very connected to. And that was something I got at Howard as well. And so that type of, I think, confidence to be in the world came from a space where people just called me and kept calling out whatever was great in me, calling out our greatness.
Yeah. And for me, like, my whole family went to Howard. Like, I did not know any different.
Wow.
And
Did you get a scholarship? They should gave you something.
Okay, first off, I did get a scholarship. It was merit-based, academic-based.
Holler.
Okay. But to my mama's credit, my mama was also on the board, but I got a scholarship. But my point is, like, that's how ingrained my family is and was in Howard University. My sister went to Hampton, so that, there was an out. I knew I had options, but I chose differently. And so I really grew up with this sense of, like, comfort in just, like, being black. Like, the roles, the jobs, everything that my family took on was rooted in blackness. And to the point where my dad was a doctor, my grandfather was a doctor, a bunch of folks on my dad's side of the family are doctors, had a practice together and would give free care to black people in Fort Worth, Texas, because it was like the responsibility was to us. That, and my dad would say that the degree is a gift for the community. So, that there was never even a thought. And so being on a campus surrounded by people who looked like me, but from all walks of life, all over the world, was such a powerful learning experience, but also just reminded me because I was already aware of my greatness in just being black. So it only was later that it was like, oh, that's not how everybody feels.
Right.
And there was a little bit of that in high school, but
Yeah.
similarly going to grad school and kind of that awakening of seeing people who didn't look like me and how they viewed me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think that I grew up, besides when I was very, very young, I mostly went to majority black school, so it really didn't feel different. What felt different was DC itself, with just everybody. It was Chocolate City at that time.
Yeah.
But Howard felt very much like home for me.
Yeah.
It just really felt like home.
So when you were in the role of Beth, and I know that there's been time since then, there's a whole new show since then, but when you were in the role of Beth, was the character written to give you this freedom to be unapologetically black, or was that you infusing yourself in her?
Okay, so for those who've watched, okay, thank you. I wasn't fishing, but I'm really saying for a reason. For those who did watch it, thank y'all for watching. We so appreciate you. That if you saw the pilot episode, that was all that was written of Beth. And that was the only idea they had of Beth. And so, which is fine. Yeah. This happens. People don't know what they're going to do with characters. They're focused on certain leads and all that kind of stuff. But to our earlier point, when you kind of know what you're on mission for, you can help with a process very clearly because you're on mission. So if I'm stepping into something, I know part of my mission is to make sure black women are seen wholly as normal, individual women with feelings, emotions, goals, aspirations, dreams of their own, like anybody else. But it's my job to illuminate that very clearly and to make sure that she is seen as a full individual, not some two-dimensional thing that says, hi, how you doing, babe? Hope you're great. Hope everything goes well for you. And there's no idea of what's going on in her life. Right. That's not acceptable for me and my mission. So when I saw what was there, and the next episode I was given a longer monologue, and I thought, okay, well then this is an opportunity to show them what I'm on mission for. After that, when I was doing that, they had called, as I was doing it, they called the showrunner down to come and see it, to watch it. And I remember being in rooms with writers after that, and one of the writers said, and you might not even realize he said this, he was like, man, we didn't know what we were going to do with Beth, but now we have to do something with her. You know what I mean? We have to create more. And so it was the commitment to kind of, even when there wasn't a lot on the page, to creating for myself, what is this for her? What is her background? What are her dreams? Always walking into the room with that. So that finally, by the time the character started to grow and progress, they realized they needed to grow the character as well. And so that sort of, Beth sort of happened in that way. And then people started asking, what's going on with Beth? And you know what I mean? Then you start hearing that kind of thing. And so it became something that, she became a character that was just as much a part of the pantheon of that family as anyone else. But it did take that kind of sort of knowing what I was there to do.
And knowing what you're capable of. Like what I hear, is that sometimes we might have a small opportunity. I mean, I don't know if you would use the word small, but, an opportunity that's not necessarily the lead in whatever, right? That when you know who you are, you know what you're capable of, you know what your gifts are, you can push. Whether you're looking in somebody's face and saying, look at me, look what I can do, but you're showing up fully, you're stepping above and beyond and bringing everything that you have to it, and it can get bigger. Yeah. And sometimes we might write off things that we're like, oh, I want the lead, so I'm not going to do that. Right? And so, that's what I'm taking from it.
Yeah, but in life, right, we're all the leads in our own life, right?
Right.
So
right.
the characters are the same. She's not going to walk in the room thinking my only part in this life is to play his wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not doing my job if I don't walk in sort of the fullness of who she is, knowing that she is the lead in her life. And so when you carry that kind of light, people show up and they see that. You tell people how to treat you always. You know what I mean? You tell people how to see you always. So I couldn't diminish something just because I felt like maybe on the page it felt diminished. That's not my problem. You know what I mean? My job is to do my job. You know what I mean? And you have to always keep that. It does not matter the circumstance. You got to always keep in mind what you are there to do. That's why I heard the women talking about, when did you know that you made it? Did you ask that? And I was like, when I knew I made it? Child, I was in my bedroom in New York, and I was in pajamas, and I was at the side of my bed, and something in my spirit said, something has really shifted. I understood the season I was in. I understood, and this is after prayer. This is after I'm a very spiritual, person. So this is after kind of knowing my goals and what I wanted. And there was a role that I really wanted and I didn't get it, but I thought I had it. But something in my spirit felt it so strong. I said, no, then I got something. You know what I mean? Then it's something. But I know I've now captured what that feeling is. So I knew I'd made it and I didn't have anything. I didn't have the job or anything like that. And I think that that's what we have to be like that in life. Before you even get the yes, you have to be the yes. You know what I mean? Or know the yes.
Yes.
On the inside.
Yes. So to that end, right, especially in this industry, from the outside, and I say outside, like I work in the industry, but I'm not an actor, right? We see so many different levels, right? We see, fame where you can't walk down the street. But that doesn't always mean like financial success, right? There's so many words that equate to success. What does success look like for you?
Oh my gosh, success for me is being joy-filled in what I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really successful to me. Like when you wake up, you want to wake up, you want to get to what you're doing, you want to feel like, I want to take part in this day and this makes me happy. That's really successful to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely relate to that, and I think many of us kind of grow up, maybe in our teenage years, and then our 20s, like that word takes on different meaning. Yeah. I feel like it's not until you have like some semblance of success, and then you're like, what does that really mean? When people are asking you, oh, you're successful, how do you feel? And you're like, huh?
Because what is it if you have it and you're not happy, or you still, like you said, you still have that feeling of like, I'm wanting more, or like the whole, like what you thought was going to be filled when you got it is not filled, you know? That's why sometimes I feel like you kind of have to, sometimes, there's the things that we want, or that we desire, but sometimes we don't recognize that it's not the things that are going to bring you the feelings or the deep satisfaction. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between success for me. You could be, financially successful. You can have a million things on TV and be the unhappiest person. Then what is that?
Right. What are you sacrificing to reach whatever that level is? I think for me as a barometer of success. Okay. And so in this journey, as a public figure, right, you can walk down the street, but people still might stop you and be in your face. What does your mental wellness look like?
Ooh, that's good. Mental wellness for me, I've decided I've kind of broken it up into like taking care of my body. Being healthy means a lot to me. I watched my dad had to struggle with a lot of, hardships in his health. And so I decided that I would take his example, and be really careful with my body. That means I do what I feel like works for my body, which has been like yoga. So I make sure I make time for doing yoga. My spiritual health means a lot to me. Who I am, and how God sees me. Because then I don't have to worry about how other people sees me, because that's not really like my business. You know what I mean? So like, that means a lot to me. Capturing what that is means a lot to me. Surrounding myself with people who make me feel like myself.
Yeah.
That means a lot. But also people who don't hold me accountable to being who I was yesterday. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't stay around folks who don't allow that kind of growth, or who, when they see that growth, don't get like afraid, like, hold up, Sue, where you go? Oh, girl, you're trying to act. Oh, see, now you feel like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, ma'am. You know?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're around people who allow your spirit to grow, who don't hold you accountable to yesterday, but who are actually cheering you on in this moment and what's going to happen for you tomorrow. You want to be that for other people too. You don't just, suck it all.
Right.
We're in a business where people can think,
Yeah.
you, and we have to be conscious of also giving, as well, and being equal partners in relationships, and that makes you feel good too.
So speaking of being equal partners, right? What role does sisterhood play in your life and your wellness, right? Choosing friends, nurturing those relationships.
Yeah, it's big, right? Because even being here with y'all makes me feel so good. I just love being in a room with sisters. Like, I was so excited to come here today and to be able to talk with y'all, because it means so much to me. Every time I step on a stage or something, I'm hoping that I have a little piece of everybody in this room in there, and that's sort of the goal, for us to see ourselves, to feel a kinship with one another, to feel like we have each other's backs, whether we know each other or not. There's such a similarity in experience that we want to, make sure we know and acknowledge that I've seen you or I see you. That means a lot to me. My sister circles, I've been really blessed with really good friends. I don't understand it, you know what I mean? But it's something I don't try to understand. I just say, okay, I'm grateful, I receive it, and I try to be that back. But I know for a fact that a character like Beth is absolutely the culmination of just 10 to 15 women in my life that I wanted to honor certain parts of their life. And I will never forget, I had a conversation with my sister-in-law when I was about 19 or so, and she was about 24 and pregnant, and she said, she was a mother and now she was becoming a wife, and then she was like, but people forget that I'm a whole woman and I have my own dreams and my own. And it just stuck with me. And I thought, you know what? I'm never going to forget that. I'm never going to forget that she said that to me. And literally, that's what I based Beth on, which is why you got to see episodes where it was like, oh, she had a dream of being a dancer, or she had a dream of being, you know what I mean, her own business. And she had all these goals for herself, because I thought, wow, if my sister thought that at that young age, then women are out here really not just the roles that we slap on them. They have their own, inner life outside of their kids, outside of their husband, outside of their relationships, whatever that is. And I want to be able to reflect that for them. So sister relationships mean a whole lot, a whole lot.
And so with such a powerful, black woman, black and a woman role, wife, mother, all of the things that you just mentioned that you were representing, do you put pressure on yourself to live up to other people's expectations for the next things that you do?
No.
Not at all?
No.
How do you say goodbye to that and just go, all right, here we go to tomorrow?
I'll tell you how, because nobody's harder on me than me.
Yeah.
In terms of what I do.
Yeah.
Nobody, I promise you. I just will not. I'm really sort of unrelenting when it comes to trying to uncover the truth of a character. I'm really just unrelenting, to the point of I don't know if I'm ever fully satisfied, And so as long as there's a rock to turn over, I want to turn it over. But that's part of the joy in it for me. And I don't know that I'll fulfill everybody's, hope for what I do, or I don't know that everyone will be satisfied every single time. We all hope that, right? But I don't necessarily hold myself accountable to that so that I can do the work of really diving in and digging. If I have one part of my brain wondering what people are thinking and the other part trying to work, then I'm too divided. You know what I mean? I have to be wholly here so that, and I think that me doing that is the thing that might be the thing that gets the response. I don't, you know what I mean? But like, for me, I know that that's my responsibility. See, this is why being broke and not having nothing is such a good time in your life. Because you get to decide those things before you ever hit a stage. Yeah. You get to decide, like, no, you know what, guess what? They ain't checking for me, no way. So I might as well be over here just doing what I do. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then if they, start looking for you, God bless it, then you're like, well, I'm already in the habit of doing what I do. And that's, I'm going to stay accountable to that. It's sort of great when you're sort of doing things in the dark and the spotlight isn't on you yet. It's such a great time to decide what's important to you and how you want to do this thing and figuring it out. When I decided my financial plan? When I was broke. I did it when I was broke. Yeah. I decided I wanted to be a philanthropist when I had no money. I wrote the whole financial plan out, I really did. I decided I'm going to buy the house, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pay off my parents this, and guess what I did when I got the money? I bought the house, I did this, I paid off my parents' house. I did the things that I wrote when I was broke, because that is the time, honestly, when you can think the most clearly, when you don't have everybody in your ear, when you aren't doing things out of what you think is right, but you have time to meditate and know what's right. And it is just a really blessed time if you use it. Right. If you use it to your
I think that's
advantage.
what, I'm listening and it's like, if you use it. Because part of me is like, yeah, when I was broke though. And it's also like not putting too much responsibility on yourself, right? Earlier today, Jamel Hill was talking about having bad credit because she was at college and they were like, here, you want to get this credit card for this t-shirt? And she was like, cool. Making bad financial decisions then puts you in a position to not have that freedom, right? But if you simply have nothing, right? And you are listening to what that teaches you and exploring and loving and living, then I think it does allow you to do what you're describing.
I was in debt too. And then I was like, well, let me figure out financial wellness while I'm broke so that when I get the money, I won't be broke no more. All of it happened in like when I was in the worst positions possible, the worst. I just thought, all right, I don't want to be here again. Let me figure this out. And I was completely in debt. I mean, completely in debt. And then I started realizing, I said, wait a second, now 1 + 1 is 2. Let me figure out this money thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And let me figure out why am I just paying interest? They teach you to do that. Well, just pay the 119 and you're good okay, I realized after, paying that for 5 years, I said, wait, but the capital income debt? Like what? Let me figure this money thing out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was something that I made sure I did even when, all of this wasn't going on. So I totally get it. I don't know that there's too many hard places that I wasn't in before, the season changed. But I definitely took it as a place to really learn and get it together so that by the time I had the things that I wanted, I could keep the things that I wanted. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw it to y'all in 1 second, but for any questions that you have. But would you say there was ever a period where you wondered if you would get where you want to be professionally? Like in terms of fulfillment, I'll say.
Yeah. And at first I thought, I was so sure when I came out of school. I said, where's Spike Lee at? He got my number. Where are we going? Did somebody tell him? I was really sure. Yeah. And then, wow, life just goes, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, and you're like, oh, wow, okay. Gosh. Here we go. And that happens, and then you say, no, but I'm sure. And then, ba-da-ba-ba. You're like, oh, all right, woo, okay, but I'm sure. But I had this dream from the time I was 3 years old. And I knew that, somewhere in my spirit, I had captured that this was going to happen for me. And so even when things got really hard, we talked about sisterhood and people to have around you. Thank God I had friends around you that remind you of what you're going to do even when you think you're not going to do it no more. You know, there are people who speak into your life and say, no, it's going to happen. It's going to come true. It's going to come to pass. Just wait. You know, there's that, which is why it's so important to surround yourself with good people. But also, it's important to keep the faith and to know the faith in yourself, the faith in what you've chosen to do. And there's been times where I completely thought, right before This Is Us happened, I completely thought this was the end of the line. And then that happened. And it's not to say, as our sister said, that good follows after bad, or, and not to develop that pattern. But sometimes we can hold on to something so tight that we think it's supposed to happen a certain way. And if it doesn't happen that way, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? And so the letting go is not necessarily, the letting go is good for us because we think, oh, I'm done. But what it actually did is it freed us from holding on to how, you know? Because sometimes you just need to know the is. It is going to happen. How? I don't know. You know what I mean? But it is. And I'm going to keep believing for the is and keep working toward the is and let go of the how. Because, who knew that we would be in a world where, we would Zoom, 10 times
for
a
2
day.
years,
We'd be
indefinitely.
Yeah, there'd be television show. There'd be over, 3,000 television shows on TV. We didn't know that. So how can we even predict? We don't know how things are going to happen. But the commitment is to the fact that it will. It will.
Yes, ma'am. Mercedes has a question.
Hi, everybody.
Is it on?
Maybe.
Tyler?
Okay. I just want to start by saying, Codie, I'm so proud of you. This is so amazing.
I've known her since I was 6, y'all.
Yeah. So this is really special to just see you showing Black women in so many different ways. I think that a lot of times people kind of think Black women are a monolith and we're all the same. And so just the diversity of the kinds of women, their experiences, their journeys has been really special to witness. But I guess my question is kind of about timing, right? I think for me, as someone who is like transitioning into coming into my own and finding my way, like we're faced with like so many expiration dates, and we, even if we're not trying to make everything a comparative analysis, it happens often. And so I guess my question is, how did you find ways to find magic in the meantime?
Come on, Mercedes.
I had to learn to. I just thought, well, if this is the time I'm being given, right? It was always like, what if I took for granted this is where I'm supposed to be? I'm just going to take it for granted. Like, oh, I feel like I should be somewhere on Broadway, or I feel like I should be somewhere on the big screen. But let me take it for granted in this moment, this is exactly where I should be. With this time now, how can I use it to the best of my ability? Because whatever you do on this side of fame, you'll do on the other side of fame. How you living is how you living. Trust and believe. So you want to develop something on this side. Let me tell you something about them. If you drop, you ever seen those gold dollar coins? So one day I was walking, and I had about that much money. And I dropped it in the dirt. And it was dirty. But I picked it up, and I kind of, brushed it off. And I looked at the gold coin, and I said, and that was what I had, so it was valuable to me. And I said to myself, man, whether this coin is in the dirt or whether it's dusted off and fine, it's still worth $1. The value doesn't change. So my value is exactly the daggone same in the dark or in the light. And that's my decision to know, not to make, because that's already been made. You know, we can agree with it or we cannot. So it's my decision to know. Because the dollar was made with that value. You are already made with your value. Do you know it? Do you know it in the dark and do you know it in the light? If you don't know it in the dark, you won't know it in the light. So I suggest you take advantage of the dark. It's not a bad place to be. You a bad mother, shut your mouth. I can see it from here. I can see it from here. So I don't know what the dark is bringing. And when I say the dark, don't get me wrong. I don't mean it as a dark place. But what I mean is that not everybody's looking at you right now. And sometimes that's the best place to hone because nobody's looking at you right now. So now you can do all the things and be messy and and figure it out, and because nobody's looking at you right now. And then when you step on into that light, and people just go, "Woof, what was all that? You know where that came from?" You know what I mean? But you were allowed that space of messiness and creativity, and a space to find you and create you and agree with God about who you are and how fabulous you are, and you can do all those things, and you can step into the light and go, "Here I am," and it looks like this overnight success. In the beautiful red cap with the black and white print dress. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm gonna throw some flowers back because you are spot on. This one right here, at Calculated Opulence, okay, has been a comedian her whole life, a fashionista her whole life, a larger-than-life personality her whole life. And in the last year and a half, maybe, decided to show Instagram all of this and has ascended both in followers and in influence in her ability to just purely entertain, share her love journey, which has been rocky, which is, you know, a lot of folks' journey, and to just like influence people's decision to buy the things that she's sharing, et cetera. But the point is she's used all of her gifts and personality just as you just described. In the dark, because it was fun, and at first, like anybody else, nobody was looking, and now everybody's looking, and now Amazon Lives and Instagram Lives and selling stuff and traveling the world. Anyway, so giving her back those flowers because I want her to receive what you said. Simone, do we have a microphone for Simone?
Hello. Thank you, of course, for inviting me and just being here. It's been amazing. I am also similar to what you said. I'm going through a transitional phase in terms of my career. I'm very passionate about acting, and I always have been. And a common theme that I've recognized in like every talk was every single person talked about spirituality and talked about finding a connection to the divine, to their source, to God, whatever they called it. So I'm curious to know through your path, like, how do you find and keep God in the process? Like the no's and the uncertainty and the confusion, like how do you continue to keep that element in your path? Because obviously knowing this, being in this, you know, this industry, there's a lot of confusion and question and instability. So in those times, how do you keep your spirituality at the forefront?
I love that. It's so exciting to me because God is so exciting to me. Because I'll tell you why. Because he's not a God of confusion. So a lot of this confusion, right? It just like, you can go, this is what it's about. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, see, so everything is working for my good. So everything is working for my good. Even if I mess it up, even if people say, oh, no, listen, I don't know about you. I don't talk, you know, people talk about, oh, this person, you know, there's a lot in this world right now. God doesn't love these type people, this type people. Let me tell you something, honey, every 10 commandments, I know I'm failing in about 8. You know what I mean? And I know God, I'm his favorite child. Like, do you know what I mean? That, for me, is when I captured what his description of me was. Nobody in Hollywood can call me out of that name, or no person can call me out of that name. There's so much power in love. You know what I mean? And to be loved in that way, it makes me just want to give love in that way, because I'm trying to be like, oh my God. You know, when you've been given in abundance, you want to give back in an abundance. And so the reminder is to continually dwell, you know, because you can get so caught up. Let me tell you something. The amount of times I've sort of been so deeply, you know, in that relationship, and then like any relationship, feel like, well, let me step out over here and just be doing my thing. I got it. You know what I mean? I'm over here now. Okay, I got it. You know, but what I'm reminded of daily is you never really just got it. You know, any dream that is really worth pursuing is bigger than you. You know, and you just need what is bigger than you. And it was put in your heart and your spirit by a force bigger than you. And so to keep connecting to that is always finding your path to the very thing that is on your heart. And then you start realizing that thing is actually chasing you down. Because I'm never going to do it like you, sis. I'm never going to do it like you. You know what I mean? So one of me is not going to cover for the fact that we don't have you out there living. It's never going to be enough. I need you to do your thing. Because I don't know what you do, but I have a feeling it'll inspire the hell out of me. You know what I mean? And then I can do the next thing. Like, there's somebody waiting on the other side of your obedience to say, oh my God. Do you know what I mean? You know? So if you sit and you don't do it, what am I going to do? Now the next thing I was trying to do that I would have seen, oh, when she did that thing, oh, that made me, the fire. I didn't get that. You know what I mean? Because you didn't do the thing. And the world misses that. It misses that. And what we're doing is our thing, right? But it doesn't cover the multitude. You know what I mean? It's so important. It's so important. I just want you to know it's so important.
You got the mic, friend. There's two.
Hello.
This will be the last question.
Oh, I feel
Sorry,
so
guys.
special.
I know, that was aggressive. I apologize. Came out of nowhere. But everybody was going like this.
Let me make it a good one. Hi, my name is Mackenzie Thomas, also a Howard graduate. So wonderful to be in the presence of you all. So my question is a little multifaceted, but so give me a second while I get to it. But one of the things I've been sitting here thinking about is how evolved we are, Black women, and how we are truly the leaders of humanity. I've always believed this. And we do it with our humility and with our love and with our hard work. And when I think about our commitment to taking care of others and taking care of ourselves, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, and I know that God is the center of our power, I still struggle in figuring out how to do that on a daily basis. And so my question to you both, because you are both very successful and you have both, I'm sure, have sacrificed a great amount, not just for yourselves, but for your family. How do you balance the responsibility to those you are trying to take care of? Your parents, your children, your spouses, your friends, your siblings, and the responsibility to yourself.
First, grace for yourself, period. At the end of the day, I'm going to tell you something that maybe everyone's not going to say, but you can't do all those things at the same time. Neelam earlier mentioned taking care of her mother, her children, her husband, herself, her career, and paying someone to clean the house every once in a while, or cook the food, or whatever it is. There's a saying that I heard last year that I repeat a lot, which is you can have it all, but you can't do it all. In particular, at the same time. And so, sure, sometimes you can pay somebody to do the things. Sometimes you just don't get them all done, and you have to remember to give yourself grace, because that's the thing that'll drive you crazy if you're then judging yourself over what you're not accomplishing. Ultimately, everyone will be okay, the kids, the parents, the husband or whatever. Everyone will be okay if you're okay. And I think we spend a lot of time talking to ourselves poorly when we feel like we're not accomplishing all the things. And I say that, I'm saying it to myself as I'm saying it to you. Like, it is a constant lesson. Like I said, I heard that quote last year, and I've just been repeating it over and over again for my own benefit. Hopefully, somebody else receives it. But, like, for my own benefit, I'm like, you can have it all, but you can't do it all. All right. But most importantly, to give yourself grace on anything, any ball that you drop.
No, I want that to resonate. So I'm not going to say anything because that was something that I needed to hear too.
I'll take that. On that note, we want y'all to give y'all selves grace. We want you to show up as your whole selves, okay? We want you to read Fabulosity, which we mentioned earlier. And remember all of those affirmations and all those things that you said that you loved about yourselves when we were outside, or that somebody else said they loved about themselves. Okay, think about it. Does it apply to you? Great, love it. Okay, thank y'all so much. Thank you so much, Susan, for being here. Of course.